afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Closing Your Year webinar today. Today we're going to cover how to close your year, why we close your year, how to begin 2014, how to print your W-2s, W-3, 1099, T4, etc., how to generate your federal Meg Medias, and how to upload your W-2s. So, as a reminder, I'm going to access this from Pay Bill, Other, Year End. And then within this worksheet, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between the current year and the previous year so that you can see what it looks like right now, that it's opened, that it's unfinished, and then you can see what the options are as you actually go through them. Now, I'm not going to be sealing off 2013 just yet, which is, again, why I'm going to be going back and forth between the 2 years. So, you cannot begin closing your year until you finish your data integrity check. We previously had a webinar on your data integrity check errors. You're going to run your check. You can use the recalculate button to correct some of those errors. Once you've made all of your corrections with TempWorks, you can click check finished. That's going to close off step 1 and move you on to step 2, which is initialize your new year. Be very careful with this step. This is really the point of no return. This seals off 2013 and begins 2014. Alright, so just be careful when you're pushing this button. You will not have the ability to make any 2013 adjustments. From that point forward, everything will be processed as 2014. And we should already have 2014 tax buckets and tax rates beginning already, so just be aware of that. We should already be using the 2014 tax brackets. This step, at this point, will look like this until you click check finished. You'll be able to see this button once you click check finished. It'll move you on to step 2. You can only push it one time. For example, in 2012 here, it's grayed out because I can only push this button once. This is a new feature. Previously, somebody from TempWorks had to create 2012. This year, you're able to independently push this button and create your own year. The ideal time to close this year and begin 2014 is about now, from usually like the 2nd to 3rd week of January. It's going to give you a little bit of time to make any corrections that you need to make, but still leave you with plenty of time closing your year so that you can prepare your W-2 files. Alright, so once we click this year, I'm now going to have access to generate my W-2s. Once I've generated them once, I will now have regenerate as my option. Under other options, I can refresh my employee or employer data for anyone under the hierarchy that I'm at. So if my employer address isn't correct, if I need to update my suite number for my W-2s, or an employee social security number or address needs to be updated, I can go into employee or go under all options administration and make the appropriate update, then come in here and refresh my data for my W-2s. Then regenerate those. I also want to point it out, kind of jump backwards a little bit, some of these reports over here, you do have your estimated 1099 and W-2 count so that you can purchase W-2 stock. We'll go over in a little bit, but there is some great information in your year-end letter on Greatland Corporation. That's the vendor that we use to purchase our W-2 stock. And so it goes through what all of the form names are. You should be ordering blank, blank, and the phone number, the contact information, and whatnot to order the appropriate forms for your W-2s. Also, these counts here, you can run this and get an estimate number so you know how much stock you really should be ordering. Under print, you have the options to enable or disable Web Center W-2s, so those employees that have requested to receive electronic copies via Web Center. This under more options is what it's going to make those available to them. As you can see, you have a button for W-2s, 1099s, your W-3, your 1096, your employer forms, and your W-2Cs. Most of the options within these print buttons will be the same, but I'll just show you briefly. Go back for 1 second. If you are a Canadian client, you will have some additional options here. You will have T4 and you will have T4 summary in step 4. So you can know to look for them if you are a Canadian client. Under print, you have sorting options and filtering options. So you can sort by employee name, branch, or state. You can filter by EINC, branch, state, or status. This box here is going to include or exclude in the printing those employees that have opted for the electronic W-2. So the option that we just saw under more options for those web center employees, you can either include or exclude those when you print those. These options here are pretty self-explanatory. Active first, group by zip code, depending on the way that you are printing and sorting those. This option down here, if an employee lives in one state or works in another, or has worked in multiple states throughout the year, you can print 2 states or 2 local jurisdictions on one W-2, or have a separate W-2 for each of those jurisdictions. So you need to make that decision and check or deselect that box appropriately. Under download, this is you would push this and create a file if you were exporting your W-2s and sending those to, say, ADP or Ceridian or Paychex, or if you need to send them in on a CD, you can download the file and then burn that onto the CD. Print setup is new this year, so this is great. You can adjust these as necessary. I'm going to start with all zeros just to... This is as you are aligning your check stock. You can just do a test print. If you recall, if you've been with TempWorks for a few years, previously you would have to call into support and they could help you by moving it a little bit. Oh, here we go. If you can all see that, you can see how the numbers are aligned in the boxes and the boxes are aligned nicely on the paper so that you can see all 4 copies. This is what it will look like when it's printed, except for the wingdings, which we'll get to that in a minute. On the employees' copies, it will be 4. It'll be federal, state, their copy, and their copy for state. So it will print 4, where on the employer copies, it will print 4 copies, 1 for each employee to save space. So you have the ability to, so you have the ability to align your paper and your boxes appropriately just by increasing or decreasing and test printing. So I can just save that, and now it knows how I want to align my paper. And print is just, so we can disregard that one for now, but you should not receive that error. And printing, if I had not had that error thrown at me, it would just absolutely, like any other printing paper, it would go ahead and print by the sorting and filtering options that I selected previously. I can discard my changes. Okay, for my W-2Cs, we've went over this in previous webinars. When you're generating a W-2C, you are no longer able to create the original W-2s. The W-2C is not required until you have already generated all of your W-2s and filed them. So you've submitted all those to the SSA and you're now going back and making changes. So this should not be used as part of your year-end process. W-3. I was not getting these earlier. I apologize. Your W-3 is going to have the same printing and sorting. Well, not sorting, but we'll have the same printing options. The 1099s will have as well the page setup and the sorting and filtering options. Your Mag Media data integrity check. is very similar to your original data integrity check. It is specifically looking for the formatting issues per the SSA requirements in that export. So if you're running into issues that you did not resolve up here, they are going to resurface down here. You're going to run into invalid social security numbers, and that's most often the one I've seen so far. But any other formatting issues that we have, speaking of that, we are going to, in just a moment, look on the AccuWage website and the Social Security Administration website to show you some tools to help you with these formatting issues to make sure that your MEG media does upload properly. So here is the data integrity check. Down here is where you can actually download the file. So once I've printed all of my W-2s, gotten them to my employees, I now need to send them to the Social Security Administration and to the state and to the local. I have the option to regenerate because I've originally generated this file. There would be no other more option if I was in 2013. So I can download. I'm not going to push this button for real because it does take a very long time, but this is going to download my file so that I have a file to export to the SSA or the state. These, we are not able to manipulate the format that they are in because they are in the SSA format. And so if ADP, for example, requires it, and this is most commonly for this because these are the same file, we're not able to change the format of this download as it is what the SSA requires. So you can download that and then upload it to the SSA. I will show you what that looks like here. Okay, so here is AccuWage. This is I mentioned this before, but this is a free software that the Social Security Administration provides to you that you can test your file to make sure that it is in the right format and doesn't have any errors. So you can just download this for free, test your file any number of times until you've made all of the corrections necessary, and then you are able to update it on the actual Social Security Administration website. Again, the AccuWage is just a test software. This is not downloading or uploading your file. This is to test the formatting. Whereas the Social Security Administration is where you actually would be reporting your information. So I'm going to log us on here. I do want to warn you that you have to request a username and password, and I have seen it take up to a couple weeks. So if you have not gotten your credentials to the SSA, please register as soon as possible. We're going to log in. Internet is slow today. I apologize for the wait. As that's coming up, I do have another side note that I wanted to mention in here. These files, whether it be these files or these files here, are W-2 files. These are not going to be your quarterly, monthly, or annual returns. So just note you are going to need to file your 941s and your SUTA MEG medias and whatnot separately. Those, the SUTA, for example, can be done through Paybill and export the same way that you do quarterly. So these are not going to be any other annual downloadable files except for the W-2s. also do have a help document that I will be emailing out along with this link. It's simply just a quick year-end facts help document that might be helpful as you're going through some of these steps, taking you through some screenshots again. But hopefully this Social Security website. Once again, I apologize for the delay, but make sure that you have your credentials to the SSA website. Perfect, here we go. All right, so now we're going to want to report wages. And I accept. Okay, so as you're creating forms online, as it says here, you can create up to 50 at a time. And these are manually keying these in. So if you're a smaller business and you're just entering in this information, if you only have a handful of employees, you can certainly hand key them in on this first tab. Second tab is W-2 and W-2Cs. As we went over, you would now be filing W-2Cs until at least February, at least until after you filed your original W-2s and found a discrepancy. So this wouldn't come into play for a little bit yet. This is what you're most often going to use. This is where you're going to upload the file from down here. So once I download and I've saved my file, I'm going to upload it right here. I can click this and it walks you through each of the steps. Zip your file, continue. It's just going to walk you through and you have to answer each one of these questions. Because I don't have a file, I can't go all the way through, but I did just want to show you there's some really helpful information on here before you file. Checking SSNs, it walks you through some of the formats. If I go back, I wonder if it'll let me go back. Well, I wanted to show you there's a really good, I must have missed it. Once you log in, there is an employer help guide. I think they call it the employer handbook that I found very helpful. Oh. So here's some facts up here. And there is an employer help document. This wage reporting handbook, I think is what it was. That walks you through all of the steps that you should need. Yes, handbook for tax year 2013. So take note of this link, and if you have any questions with uploading, this is a great resource for why I'm getting this error. So once it's exported out of TempWorks, as you're on the SSA website, that is a great resource for troubleshooting. Nearly everybody should have scheduled an appointment with a year-end technician to walk through closing your year out. We give you the opportunity to schedule an appointment with us. If you have any questions as you're running through these steps, you'll have somebody available there to answer any questions you have. If you do come up with errors that, what error did I get? Okay, if I got this error, if this is actually my system and I'm going to close this out, I get this error, I will have a year-end technician dedicated to help me fix these errors that come up. So please take advantage of that if you have not. Hopefully this helps you go through this independently, assuming you don't have any huge data errors down in here. If you've resolved them all, and if you've resolved them all in your data integrity check and maintained clean data, hopefully you don't have any errors here, and it should be a smooth process. You should be able to align all of your printing, or if TempWorks is printing for you, we would just mail all of the W-2s to your employees by January 31st, and you won't have to even worry about any of these steps. Otherwise, feel free to email the yearend@tempworks.com, or I'm sorry, it's yearend@tempworks.com, and we'd be happy to respond to any of your questions. Otherwise, have a great day.